Hello and a very warm welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching Security Scan. I'm Frank Rausan Pereira. In a major boost to its anti-submarine warfare capabilities, the Indian Navy last week received its ninth P-8I surveillance aircraft at its naval airbase in Goa. The aircraft delivered on November 19th is the first of four additional planes which were ordered by India after the completion of the initial order for 8 aircraft. The P-8I aircraft is a variant of the P-8A Poseidon aircraft that Boeing developed as a replacement for the US Navy's aging P-3 fleet. Indian Navy had become the first international customer for the P-8 aircraft with the conclusion of the nearly $2.1 billion contract on January 1, 2009 for 8 aircraft. The P-8I aircraft is equipped for long-range anti-submarine warfare, anti-surface warfare, intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance in support of the broad area maritime and littoral operations. Its communication and sensor suite includes indigenous equipment developed by the defense PSUs and private manufacturers. With its high speed and high endurance of about 10 hours, the aircraft is capable of thrusting a punitive response and maintaining a watch over India's immediate and extended areas of interest. In this edition of Security Scan, we will analyze the strategic importance of the P-8I surveillance aircraft. Joining me on the program today are Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha, retired, Defense Analyst; Air Vice Marshal Manmohan Bahadur, retired, Additional Director General, Center for Air Power Studies; and Commander Milind Kulshreshtha, retired, Strategic Analyst. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of Security Scan. All right, Admiral, let me start the program with you first. Let's first try and understand and analyze the salient features of the P-8I surveillance aircraft.
Thank you, Frank, for getting me on your program. Basically, we tend to forget that the maritime patrol aircraft can also function as the first strike on any surface target because the radars are so capable that the homing can be given very well and it can be guided right up to the target, and therefore it carries a harpoon missile as well, Frank. So that in case there is an opportunity target, this aircraft can carry out and strike without having to wait for any other aircraft, support aircraft or any other ship to be directed. So that is one big advantage in this. The second salient aspect is the sonobuoy system, which is utilized to pick up the submarines, is very, very advanced type. And the pickup so far, I gather that it has been anything between very good to excellent. So that is for the the accuracy of the equipment which the Americans have given us. In addition to this, you mentioned about the electronic surveillance and communication system. So we have our own indigenously developed ESM system, the electronic support measure, which is used very, very sort of, shall I say, frequently. Including, during our Eastern Ladakh, we have had a face-off with the Chinese, and it was positioned in that area, and it was used to take the intelligence. The last one that I want to mention here is that, it can also establish satellite communication with the shore units, and it can also get inputs through our naval communication satellite, the GSAT-7. Which gives it a radius of communicating ability to almost, shall I say, 1,500 kilometers on either side of India, meaning that it can cover right up to South China Sea. And on the western side, it can go Red Sea. But we have had occasions when we have picked up our ships and other units, even in the Mediterranean. So all in all, Frank, it's an extremely useful aircraft. And these 4 more are the option clause out of the first 8 that we bought. And I think we need much more. Our initial projection was much higher, and I think slowly, possibly, it will be bought.
Absolutely. All right. So, Milind Kulshreshtha, let me come across to you now. So, as far as the P-8I is concerned, how does it compare to some of its counterparts? How is it different? What's special?
First of all, thank you for the opportunity that we can showcase some of the naval armaments we have got or inducted recently facing the Chinese threat we have got. So basically, the problem which Navy has always faced, especially when we operate an aircraft carrier, is to detect the underwater submarines. And it is very, very difficult to detect the submarines unless we have our sonars around that place. So usually ships also carry the sonars. There are 2, 3 varieties of sonars which ships do carry to be able to detect the submarine, not only to attack, but to defend themselves and the flotilla which is along with that at the fleet level. So the submarine hunting is a very air intensive because you have to cover a huge chunk of the ocean area. So Indian Navy has been operating previously some TUs and ILs which was procured from Russia. However, they were getting obsolescent because the technology is going very, very, stealth. It's very difficult to detect a submarine at any stage. So Indian Navy, by getting this P-8I, has been able to basically get a force multiplier. That is, it completes the full kill chain from detection to the destruction of the submarine. And that is a very advantageous point with us. We did not have this capability, and as we are all aware, that is one of the latest weapon in the arsenal which we have got today, and it has really got our enemies alert as to what capabilities we have got. Only thing I'll say is that the number is very small compared to what is the area of responsibility for the Indian Navy. Now, as far as detection capabilities come, I'll not say what was there earlier, but I can say what is here. We have got a synthetic aperture radar, an inverse synthetic aperture radar, which has its own feature. Probably in the later part of it, we can discuss the details and the technical parameters. What we have got. It has got a very interesting equipment called magnetic anomaly detector (MED), which we had not operated earlier. It's got very strong electro-optic sensors for day and night infrared detection. And most importantly, what I would like to project this aircraft as a C4I command, control, and combat control aircraft. It has got its own multi-sensor, multi-target detection fusion algorithms. Yes, it has got a satellite link, again, indigenously developed. A lot of equipment is indigenous in this. There has been awareness in India to support the indigenization feature. When it comes to armament, it has got torpedoes, harpoon missile, electronic warfare equipment, and to protect itself, it has got the flares and the shaft. Maybe more of this we can detail out as we progress during the discussion.
Absolutely. All right. We'll talk about all of that, and we'll talk about, how it compares with the other arsenal and other equipment that we have in the Navy itself and what it means for the Navy as a whole in just a bit. But let me go across to the Air Vice Marshal on the program as well. AVM, as far as, the P-8I's strategic importance is concerned, your thoughts on that?
Just remember, the P-8I is a weapon system in a way. And that fits into the overall architecture of the military preparedness, as well as the message being sent across to the adversaries. So that the P-8I has a very important place in this overall architecture. It conveys two things. It conveys that the Indian Navy has got the capability and is going to get more of that capability to watch you if you're there on the Indian Ocean, in the Indian Ocean region. And that itself is a big message that forms part of the messaging that goes across. So that's part of the capability. And as Admiral Sinha brought out, that it reduces the sensor to shooter time because it itself can become a shooter in case it has the capability, the possibility of launching its missiles on a surface target or a subsurface target. So that is one part of the capability. The second part is the resolve. Now the resolve can be shown not necessarily during wartime, even during peacetime. And the best was as seen in Doklam. When Doklam happened 3 years back, that's in the hills up north, far away from the Indian Ocean. But the P-8I was used, as was brought out earlier in the program, for electronic support measures. And when you say electronic support measures, it means getting the transmissions from the other side of their radars or anything that transmits. And what we are looking into the surface locations. And that's a very important thing. So the resolve of the Indian military, or shall I say the Indian nation, comes in, and the message that is sent across is that the three services are coordinating with each other. There is a command and control for using all assets when it comes to national interest. Now, getting down one step beyond the overall picture is the fact that now our adversaries know that whenever any vessel enters the Indian Ocean region, it can be detected, and it is detected. And the best part was, I think roughly about a year back, the Twitter handle of the Indian Navy sent out a tweet with photographs of two Chinese ships coming in, welcome so and so and so and so. So while it was done in jest with a little emoji also put in there, but it sent a message: we are watching you. So that is when you're talking of the strategic importance of the P-8I that comes in. The capability, the resolve, and more importantly, the fact that it is not a hollow capability, because everybody knows that the P-8I, the armament it carries and the electronic support measures and the radars that it carries.
Absolutely.
It is a quantum jump as was brought out earlier, from the IL-38s and the TUs that we had earlier.
Sure. Since you are here then, Admiral, let's build on what the AVM just said, and let's analyze and talk about what this means for the Navy as a whole and what more needs to be done.
Two things, Frank. One is that it is the interoperability within the armed forces, three services. Now we have more of matching equipment from very similar source. That is number one. The second point is also its interoperability, in a multinational force of the democracies, as they call it. But I think this is going to be more than democracy. I'm sure that someday Vietnam will also join us. So Australia, Japan, US, ourselves, we all have these, or some of them are still being procured. The good thing that will happen is that, if the Americans have aircraft carriers coming from the Pacific, and let's say the aircraft are based in Diego Garcia, then obviously the Indian East Coast is much closer to get airborne and go into the Pacific and support the operation. So that interoperability is a very big thing, Frank, including the data link that they have, including the satellite link they have. So I think we got finally what was actually required. It is world's. I would put it as the best aircraft in this category, as AVM Bahadur said. There is just no doubt about it. So that is one. The second thing, what needs to be done further? I have been saying this. That in my opinion, we only have a window of about 7-8 years. I think AVM Bahadur will have some more input on this. That the Chinese will be here in a much greater force, much greater numbers, and with more potent surface ships, submarines, and aircraft. They are much larger. They are comparing right now with the United States of America. We are, we have to do a lot of catching up. Since the expenditure in the defense has not been proportionate to the threat perception perceived by the armed forces, we have not been able to procure all that, and therefore frequently we have to resort to emergency purchases, which cost us many more times. So I would think that this is also within the country. I'm sure that the government and with the formation of these, the Department of Military Affairs and the CDS, they will have to go into more details and see that what is the overall requirement. And very rightly, as AVM and my panelists, Milind, have just said, the ability to operate together, ability to purchase equipment and platforms together so that it is utilized for a national call, not only in wartime, but in peacetime. MH90, we lost that MH390, what was it? So, Malaysian jet.
370, MH370.
MS370. So, these are the equipment, these are the platforms which have the ability to pick up the underwater sound, or maybe do a mad run, as Milind was saying. When you do a mad run, you can pick up the metallic bodies. It's a magnetic anomaly detector. So we have the ability, and it's a world-class equipment. I think we have to pay little more attention, not only for the naval induction, but all armed forces. We have to be suitably. Right now, we have we are in that direction, but we need to do much more, because the previous time, in the past, not enough has been.
Absolutely. All right. Since we are here, then, since you're talking about interoperability between the three forces, what about, coordination and better management of what we already have in terms of the Navy itself? Milind, Kulshreshtha, let's talk about that. As far as the Scorpion class of submarines, we've seen, one being inducted, a couple of more, tests being successfully carried out. How do, we fit all of these things together and ensure that we work as a cohesive unit? And how does the P-8I fit in or sit in the scheme of things as far as the Navy is concerned?
Yeah, very good question. So let me try to build it up in a manner in which it is implemented on the ground. As Admiral said, brought out, there is something called interoperability. This actually is about war-fighting units being able to talk to each other. When I say talk to each other, yes, they can pick up a microphone and talk. But the idea is to have the tracks passed. Let's say a P-8I has detected a submarine. It's able to pass the tracks without the other person having to ask or look out for it. It appears and pops up on its display, which is the multifunction console display, so that now this threat can be engaged by some other ship also. So coming to our own capability of anti-submarine warfare, we have, as we are aware that this is an equipment, P-8I is something which has been supplied by Americans. So what we have got is a COMCASA, which has been signed recently, compatibility of communication between the two forces. And we have a BECA agreement which has come in. That is a basic exchange of the geointelligence information. So what is going to happen is that, let's say, we have a Scorpion submarine, which is the Indian submarine in the waters, and it is at a periscope depth. And we have a P-8I which wants to launch this Scorpion submarine towards, or we'll call our Khanderi class submarine, into taking on the other submarine, because it has got some other engagement at the theater level warfare. It is able to pass on to our submarine the coordinates and the perimeters of the target, and P-8I is off the job. It will be start doing some other work, and Scorpion submarine can take on the target. Now, interoperability, when it comes to when we operate in a flotilla, let's say we did with the quad navies, they have a different tactical detailing, that is the Link 16 and Link 11. It takes a lot of time to evolve these kind of tactical detailings, because the information has to be passed with minimum latency and highest throughput. That means the coordinates have to be passed on with the most accurate, precise, because functions have to be run on it mathematically. So with this P-8I, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. With this P-8I coming, now what Indian Navy has achieved is that we are able to detect the target with a lot of accuracy and pass on to our own ships when we are operating at Indian fleet level. But the moment we go for joint operations, yes, there is a gap which has to be fulfilled through the COMCASA agreement, and that is required to be implemented by India.
Right. So thank you for taking us through, how exactly we have to go forward and what needs to be done, and for so beautifully putting it into perspective for us. AVM, let me go back to a point that the Admiral was making about, the rise and the, the push of China, especially in the Indo-Pacific, and, how we need to prepare for that. Recently, of course, we conducted successful naval exercises in the form of Malabar exercises and in the form of Simbex. But what more needs to be done in the Indo-Pacific as far as we are concerned?
We are already seeing that. We're already seeing that with our interactions and our engagements with Vietnam. A little bit with Malaysia, but more with Vietnam. And the move of our naval ships in that area, the coordination with the Navy out there, the fact that for the last few years, maybe a decade or so, we've got a defense attaché there. The fact that Vietnamese officers are coming for training with us, operating with us. So all this goes to show that we know where we should be in order to be in the, shall we say, the backwaters of our adversary, because he's trying the same things with us in our backwaters. So that's on. There is some Air Force to Air Force interaction also happening. So to put all this together, and the Army, of course, is there, the interaction part. So when you see all this, and the fact that you've got the P-8I, which can operate with the navies, that is the Western navies, or the navies of the democratic countries, as Admiral Shekhar Sinha put it, due to our signing the CONCASA, and basically, that gives us a situation where our assets can operate. Our ships are already there and making very frequent visits. So overall, presently, though they may be the amount, the effort put in may be not that much, but it is on the rise. And as the Navy's surface ships increase and the assets increase, like what I can tell you is that, and the talk about Quad increasing its, shall I say, interactions, going more into the military field. It's not yet a military alliance, we know that. But tending to go towards that, then that brings us back into the front face of what pressures can be brought on China in the Indo-Pacific on the western side, that is towards the Pacific side. We have a long way to go, that's for sure, because of our assets. We have to really increase our assets in able to have a permanent presence there.
Absolutely. All right, time now to get closing comments now from all my panelists with the best way forward, starting first with you, Admiral.
Well, I think the interoperability between the ships of our own services has to be increased so that we can exploit this very expensive equipment in the most optimal manner. And I think the P-8I is one very good example. The second one probably will be a common data link, or a data link which can access each other. We can have a handshake setup box where they can talk to each other. Because many times the strike missions, let us say the aircraft carrier is not there. There will be times when strike mission will be taken by the Air Force. As you know, the Air Force has got a maritime air squadron in Su-30. And P-8I will be required to pass the data. And you cannot do on an open circuit, Frank, because it is picked up by the whole world. That is number one. And secondly, that while we increase our interoperability, there is an urgent necessity to increase the defense budget, which is at the moment very low. I understand the politician has to really walk a very tight rope because there are developmental issues, there are agricultural issues, there are HR issues. So the poverty has to be sort of alleviated. So for a politician, it's not easy. But I think the time is coming as the economy picks up from here, the allocation could be increased. Right now, it may be tight, and armed forces are doing what they are supposed to do best, and they are putting up best by all services. So I think there are two aspects. One, to increase the defense budget in the coming days, and secondly, to improve interoperability amongst our own services.
Right, absolutely. Milind, Kulshreshtha?
Yeah. Okay. So what I can say is that having a Harpoon missile fitted on P-8I is a great advantage which India has gained, because these missiles are not only for anti-ship operation, it can attack on the coastal targets and within inland. And what is likely to happen, that Strait of Malacca is a very busy place. So we expect, if we have to engage somebody over there, these missiles have the capability to identify a specific target, and the trajectory of the missile is so intelligent that it can go and strike that particular ship which we are trying to target. P-8Is are really a great thing for Indian Navy to have, but I personally feel they're few. We need to have maybe far more numbers to actually create an effective deterrence to Chinese operations of submarines within Indian Ocean and Bay of Bengal, the area of our interest. And P-8Is based at Andaman Nicobar are going to be very, very strategic for India in the future to come.
Absolutely. And AVM Bahadur, close the show for us with your concluding remarks.
I personally feel the time has come for the government to take a very, very clinical view of the importance of hard power. Diplomacy has to be backed up with hard power. It's that gloved fist which the armed forces provide to the diplomats. And for that, I think we require the monies that the finance must give us. As Admiral Sinha said, it's a very delicate task that the finance minister has to do. But somewhere we have to bite the bullet. It's as simple as that. We have to develop our coastal installations because P-8I by itself can do that much, but not everything. So maybe, the development of Campbell Bay, so close to Malacca Strait, the runway extensions that is required out there. The Air Force has put a squadron, Sukhoi squadron in Tanjavur in down south. More assets would be required for Southern Air Command, and a very important factor of interoperability between Air Force assets, strike assets, and P-8I and the surface ships of the Navy. Things are ongoing for sure, otherwise we wouldn't have put the Sukhoi squadron out there. The Sukhoi and the P-8I combination would be a very deadly combination to project Indian power, Indian military power far away from its shores and guard our interests in the Indian Ocean region.
Better synergy and interoperability is the key word, is what the panelists are suggesting, and can't stress enough as far as that is concerned. Thank you to my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. That's it on this edition of Security Scan. See you again next time.